All right. If you want to know how federal Labor might handle the nation's finances, just look at how Labor is handling them in Victoria. Yesterday's Victorian budget projects state debt, that's the debt the Victorian government owes and the Victorian taxpayers have to service, growing from just under $100 billion now to almost $170 billion in just 3 years' time. When Daniel Andrews first became Premier in 2014, that debt was just $22 billion. Now, in other words, his government expects to have blown almost $150 billion over and above what they take from Victorians in extra taxes in scarcely a decade. It means that Victoria's net public debt will be equivalent to 26.5% of the state's economy. That's a record in recent history and almost double what it was in the dreaded years of the Keating recession, when Victoria then, as it is now, was on its knees. There were big promises in the budget yesterday on health, but you've got to wonder if they'll ever get met, like the 4,000 ICU beds promised in the pandemic but never ever delivered, or the state's ambulance crisis, a problem that's only got worse since the days when Daniel Andrews was the health minister. Victorian budget papers show that there was $2.3 billion squirreled away for campaign promises that Labor hasn't yet announced, but they will, because they hope that they'll spend your money to win back voters in the November state election. As a fig leaf of fiscal responsibility, there's going to be a $10 billion Victorian Future Fund. Supposedly, we're told to pay down debt on the assumption that the fund's returns will eventually exceed the debt's interest bill. Now, fat chance of that. And the fund will be established by privatising the operation of Victoria's motor vehicle registry. Can you imagine Labor's screams if this was a Liberal proposal? It'll mean that Victorian car rego and licensing fees, all of that, won't just have to cover government public service sort of costs, but they'll have to make a private business a profit. After the world's longest lockdown, you might have thought there'd be some money too to help Melbourne get back on its feet, but there wasn't. Instead, there was $14 million to open a new Victorian government trade office in Paris, even though the federal government is already there and trade is a federal responsibility, but nothing for Melbourne CBD. I just hope Victorians don't have amnesia in November.